I always thought he was just bad at charging his phone until I noticed he always turned it off every Friday night. One evening, he fell asleep, and I used his thumb to unlock it. My heart stopped when I saw a calendar entry, dinner with my love. Room 407 after. The next Friday, I booked the room next door. I waited until I heard them laughing, then I knocked. When he opened the door, his smirk faded instantly. "Babe, I can explain." I held up my room key and whispered, "No need." I booked a room, too. Then his mistress walked up behind him, and the real drama began. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to end up writing one of these posts. But here we are. My name's not important. I'm a 41-year-old woman, married to Daniel, 43. We live, or lived, I guess, in Chicago, not far from Lakeview. We were together for 15 years. Married for 11. No kids. I work in a small but beautiful art gallery near River North, and he works in finance, corporate accounts, very long hours, always something urgent. Or so I thought. Daniel's always been. I don't want to say cold. He's just private. Keeps to himself. I'm the emotional one, the talker. He was the strong, silent type. But not in a bad way. I used to think he was stable. Steady. Safe. Things started feeling off about a year ago. Nothing huge at first. It's always the small things. He started taking his phone with him everywhere. To the bathroom. To the shower. He used to just leave it plugged in by the nightstand. I'd ask him about it and he'd laugh, say he was just used to work always calling. Fair enough, right? But then he started turning it off every Friday night. Not silent. Not do not disturb. Full off. At first, I didn't even notice. I just assumed the battery was dying or he forgot to charge it. But it kept happening. Every Friday. And when I asked about it, he'd joke, "I'm not letting my boss ruin my weekend again." Seemed logical. Reasonable. But something in the way he said it? I don't know. It didn't sit right. Friday nights also became his nights. That's what he called them. He'd go out with the guys. Dinner, drinks, maybe poker. Again, normal. He'd come home late. Sometimes buzzed. Sometimes just blank. He wasn't mean. He wasn't cruel. Just absent. But when I think back now, what gets me the most is how I wanted to believe him. How I convinced myself I was overthinking. Then came the night he fell asleep on the couch. He got home late. Said work had been a mess. Collapsed into our big beige couch without even taking off his shoes. He was snoring in 5 minutes. His phone was in his coat pocket. I stared at it. Something inside me was screaming. That quiet panic that comes when you already know the truth, you just don't have the proof yet. I pulled it out. It was off. Again. But I turned it back on. It asked for a fingerprint. He was out cold. So I grabbed his hand and pressed his thumb on the sensor. It opened instantly. My hands were shaking. I wasn't even sure where to look first. But then I saw it. His calendar app was open already. It said, "Dinner with my love. Room 407 after." Repeats, every Friday. Location, the Wilmore Hotel, Gold Coast. My stomach dropped. I stared at it for a full minute before it really hit me. Every Friday. Same hotel. Same room. And the worst part? He saved it in his calendar. Like it was just a regular meeting. Like she was just another appointment. I put the phone back before he woke up. And then I sat there until the sun came up, staring at nothing. I didn't tell him I knew. Not yet. The next few days, I pretended everything was fine. I smiled. I made dinner. I kissed him goodbye. But I was planning. I told my best friend, Laura. She's been my rock since college. We met for lunch at this little place in Lincoln Park. When I told her what I found, she didn't say, "I told you so," even though she probably should have. She just said, "You need to see it for yourself. You need to be 100% sure." So I booked room 406 at the Wilmore Hotel for the following Friday. It's one of those trendy boutique hotels in the Gold Coast. Nothing flashy, but classy. I asked for a room next to 407. I didn't give a reason. The woman at the front desk didn't ask. That night, I checked in alone. I brought nothing but a duffel bag and my nerves. At exactly 6:53 p.m., I heard them. Laughing. Muffled voices. Her voice. I sat on the edge of the bed, gripping the key card, heart racing. It sounded like they were having wine. I could hear the cork pop. And then I did it. I walked out. Stood in front of room 407. My hand shook as I knocked. Silence. Footsteps. Then the door creaked open. Daniel stood there. Shirt unbuttoned. Hair messy. Wine glass in hand. His smile dropped the second he saw me. His eyes went wide. Like he saw a ghost. Babe. I cut him off. Held up my key. No need. I booked a room too. And then she appeared behind him. Her hair was damp. Like she just got out of the shower. She was wrapped in one of those fluffy white hotel robes. She looked younger. Prettier, maybe. In that obvious, done-up kind of way. She stared at me. Smiled. Like I was an inconvenience. And then she said it. Well, this is awkward. Daniel looked like he was going to pass out. I didn't say another word. I turned around and walked back to my room. Closed the door. I didn't cry. Not right away. I just sat there, listening to the chaos erupt next door. Raised voices. Her yelling. Him stammering. Something about, you said she wouldn't find out. That night, I didn't sleep. He knocked on my door once. I didn't answer. The next morning, I checked out and walked down to the lake. I watched the water for a long time. I haven't told anyone else yet. Not my parents. Not his. I haven't even told Daniel what I plan to do next. He sent me 100 texts since. Voicemails. Please talk to me. Let me explain. It was a mistake. I love you. But the thing is, it wasn't just cheating. It was the lies. The gaslighting. The pretending. The way he kissed me goodbye every Friday, knowing where he was going. And now, I don't even know where to begin. But I do know this. I'll never look at Fridays the same way again. It's been 4 days since that night at the hotel. I still haven't responded to any of Daniel's messages. But I haven't blocked him either. I want to hear what he says. I want to see how far he'll go to twist this. On the 5th day, I get a knock at my gallery. I'm helping set up a new exhibit and trying to act normal when my assistant calls me from the front. It's your husband, she whispers awkwardly. I step outside. There he is. Standing by the brick wall, holding a paper bag like it's some kind of peace offering. He looks tired. Hollow. But I don't feel sorry for him. I just want to talk, he says. Please. I don't say anything. Just stare. I know what I did, he says. I was stupid. It didn't mean anything. That pisses me off instantly. Didn't mean anything? You saw her every week. You made a calendar event. Are you hearing yourself? I'm sorry. I swear, she's nothing. I ended it. She was just a mistake. And right there, I say the first real thing I've said to him since the hotel. Was I also a mistake, Daniel? He shuts up. I go back inside. But now the real mess begins. That night, Laura and I are drinking wine at her place. We're half laughing, half crying over what happened. Then my phone buzzes. It's a message from a number I don't know. You don't know the full story. Maybe you should. Oh! Olivia. At first, I think it's a bluff. But then she sends a photo. It's Daniel, sleeping, in the same hotel bed. Time-stamped. From 2 months ago. She follows it up with, he told me you were separated. Said you didn't want kids. That you were cold. My mouth goes dry. I show Laura. She turns pale. I respond. Meet me. Tomorrow. Same cafe. 1 p.m. The next day, Olivia walks in wearing a black coat and sunglasses like she's in some kind of soap opera. She sits across from me and orders a tea like nothing's wrong. I didn't know, she says. I swear. He told me you were done. That you were staying in the marriage for tax benefits. I want to laugh. Or scream. Instead, I ask, why tell me now? She shrugs. Because he dumped me. Said I was too dramatic. And because you deserve to know how deep his lies go. We talk for 40 minutes. She tells me everything. He started flirting with her a year and a half ago. Said he was in a dead marriage. Said I didn't touch him anymore. That he slept on the couch. That I nagged like a mother. He made her feel like the victim. Like he was saving her from his toxic wife. The worst part? He said he wanted a baby with her. That night I went home and opened every drawer, every closet. Looked at every picture of us smiling, every birthday card I ever gave him. All of it felt fake. Then I found a receipt tucked in his old coat pocket. One I hadn't seen before. From a fertility clinic. Not ours. One across town. Paid in cash. It was dated 2 months ago. So while he was telling me he wasn't ready for kids yet, he was taking her to see if she could get pregnant. Something in me broke. The next morning, I didn't go to work. I went straight to his office building in the Loop. The receptionist tried to stop me, but I didn't care. I walked into his floor and found his glass-walled office. He was mid-call. Saw me. Froze. I threw the receipt on his desk. You trying to start a new family while you destroy the one you already had? He looked like a deer in headlights. Colleagues stared. Phones paused. It was dead silent. He stood up and tried to pull me into his office, whispering, "Let's not do this here." Too late. I turned around and said loudly, "Hope your coworkers know you're not just bad at charging your phone. You're bad at being a decent human." And I walked out. He followed me into the hallway, saying my name over and over, but I just kept walking. I didn't go home. I didn't go to Laura's. I got into my car and drove straight to my sister's house in Evanston. She's older, calmer. I needed that. When I told her everything, she didn't say, "I'm sorry." She said, "Let's get a lawyer." The lawyer my sister found was brutal, in a good way. Her name was Natalie Chin, and she didn't waste time on small talk. After hearing everything, she leaned back and said, "You've got leverage. Use it." I wasn't sure what she meant until she pulled out her iPad and tapped her notes. "You've got emotional distress, potential marital misconduct, hidden medical expenses, and, if you want to go nuclear, possible fraud if he was trying to establish paternity behind your back." I sat there stunned. Fraud? Think about it. If he's trying to create a second life while still using joint finances, it's more than cheating. It's deception with legal consequences. It hadn't even crossed my mind. I thought I was just a broken wife. Turns out I might have been a financial pawn too. But then came the twist I didn't expect. A few days later, I get a package at my sister's place. No return address. Inside is a thin manila envelope. Handwritten note, "You don't know him like I do." There's a flash drive. My gut told me to throw it away. I plugged it into my sister's laptop. Inside were videos. I clicked the first one. Daniel. Arguing. With someone. In a parking garage. I couldn't make out everything, but the voice was familiar. It was Olivia. "You promised me," she yells in the video. "You said you'd leave her." He shoves her. Not hard, but enough to make her stumble. That wasn't the Daniel I knew. Or thought I knew. Next video, Daniel alone. Talking to someone on the phone. Saying things I never imagined he'd say. "She's not gonna find out. She never checks my phone. She's emotionally soft. She'll cry, not fight. I'll clean out the account and be gone before she figures it out." Clean out the account. I almost threw up. My sister came running when she heard me gasp. What happened? He was planning to rob me. We looked at each other. The same thought hit us both. The joint account. I hadn't checked it in weeks. Everything had been a blur. I logged in from my phone. Gone. Not completely empty, but the savings, everything we'd built over 11 years, had been drained by more than $62,000. I stared at the number like it was in another language. I had the receipts. I had the videos. And now I had a motive. It wasn't about love. Or sex. Or passion. It was about money. I called Natalie immediately. She didn't even flinch. Looks like we're going to court after all. But here's where it gets even messier. That night, Olivia called me. "I didn't send that package," she said. I was quiet. "Then who did?" "I think someone else is involved." I laughed. "You mean another woman?" "No. I think he's been lying to both of us. Turns out, Olivia did some digging of her own. She hired a private investigator after he dumped her. The PI found out Daniel wasn't just seeing her, he had another woman in Milwaukee. A whole second apartment under a fake name. Paid in cash. With someone named Claire. Claire thought she was his fiancée. Not kidding. He told Claire his wife had died of cancer. Told her he was healing and didn't like talking about it. Told her he didn't believe in remarriage because it was too painful. Claire had met his coworkers, fake friends he hired off TaskRabbit to pose for dinner parties. She even had a ring. When I got off the phone with Olivia, I just sat in the dark for hours. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. How do you love someone who doesn't exist? And then came the call that broke everything wide open. It was Daniel. Not a voicemail. A real call. I don't know why I answered. His voice was calm. Too calm. I need to talk to you. Alone. Please. Just 1 hour. Why? Because you don't know what you're messing with. That was new. What do you mean? He hesitated. Then said, they're not who you think they are. Olivia. Claire. They're not innocent. You lied to everyone. And so did they. Then he hung up. That was 3 days ago. And now? Now I'm getting text messages from a number that says, Claire. He's dangerous. Don't go anywhere alone. We need to talk. Please. I met Claire in a neutral, very public place. A cafe inside the Chicago Cultural Center. I brought Laura with me, just in case. Claire looked exactly like someone you'd see on a Midwestern Christmas card. Blonde, soft eyes, floral blouse. And when she spoke, I heard sadness in her voice before anything else. I didn't know, she said right away. I swear I didn't know. She pulled out her phone and showed me photos. Her and Daniel. Happy. Laughing. Celebrating what looked like a fake engagement. He told me you died, she said, her voice breaking. He said he couldn't stand to take off his ring yet because your spirit was still with him. I almost laughed. I actually almost laughed. Then she showed me something that made my skin go cold. A photo of them at a fertility clinic. Same place as the receipt I found. Same day. And behind them, blurry in the background, was Olivia. She wasn't there by accident. They were all there. Same time. Same day. Daniel was trying to get both of them pregnant. At once. Why? I asked out loud, more to myself than to her. Claire shook her head. I think he wanted to trap us. Or play God. Or maybe he just wanted to see how far he could push it. I told Natalie everything. She filed for divorce immediately. Froze the rest of the joint assets. And she subpoenaed his financials. That's when we found the real bombshell. Daniel had drained $62,000, but not just for the affair. He had gambling debts. Massive ones. Sports betting. Off-the-record stuff. Hidden through cash apps and burner accounts. He'd borrowed against his 401k and funneled it into accounts Olivia never even knew about. And it gets worse. He forged my signature on a short-term business loan to flip a condo with a fake investment group. It wasn't just betrayal. It was criminal. The final confrontation wasn't in a courtroom. It was at my gallery. He showed up again, uninvited, during an opening night. There were people everywhere. Artists, press, friends, donors. He stood by the main exhibit like he belonged there. Like nothing had happened. And then he raised his voice. Can I just talk to my wife? Everyone turned. He looked right at me. Tell them the truth. Tell them you weren't perfect either. I walked straight up to him. I don't even remember how I got across the room. You're right, I said loud enough for the room to hear. I wasn't perfect. I trusted you. That was my mistake. Then I pulled out my phone, connected to the gallery's speaker system, and hit play. It was one of the videos from the flash drive. Him. Saying he'd clean out the account. Saying I'd never notice. Gasps. Silence. Phone's recording. He reached for me. Please, not here. Don't do this here. You did this here. Security escorted him out. People murmured. Some tried to comfort me. Others just watched like it was theater. But Claire and Olivia were both there too. They had come, both invited. They stood near the exit and watched him walk past. Claire looked him in the eyes and said, "Tell your next victim your wife's still alive." And Olivia? She just smiled and raised her glass. "You thought you were the player. Turns out you were the joke." The next day, Daniel's company let him go. He's under investigation now. For fraud. For forgery. Maybe worse. I filed a restraining order. The apartment is mine. I changed the locks. Got a dog. Her name is Freya, and she barks at men in suits. I like her already. Olivia's gone quiet. Claire moved to Michigan. We still text sometimes. There's trauma bonding, I guess. As for me, I'm not okay yet. Not fully. Some days I cry while brushing my teeth. Some nights I sleep like a rock. Other nights, I stare at the ceiling until sunrise. I miss the version of Daniel I thought was real. The man who made French toast on Sundays. The one who used to hold my hand in cabs and say, "I still get butterflies." That man never existed. I mourned a ghost. But I'm not broken. The gallery is thriving. I started painting again. Not for others. Just for me. And sometimes, when I walk past the Wilmore Hotel on a Friday night, I smile. Not because I'm over it, but because I survived it. If there's one thing I learned, trust your gut. Always. Even when it whispers. Especially when it whispers. And don't ignore the little things. Like a phone that always dies at the same time every week.